I think if you look at what we're actually looking at in terms of picking up imbalances in different markets, and obviously a lot of what I presented was country sort of level, but obviously it's even more interesting, and if you want to capture opportunities, that you have to zoom in and at several levels. From a demand-supply perspective, we have pockets of oversupply. That's one of the risks. But across the board, not that much. We're not that worried about this particular imbalance. The equity debt balance or imbalance that we're actually monitoring across the globe. If you take the case of the UK, banks' exposure to commercial real estate debt today is actually pretty low. At the peak, we were roughly 12, 13%. We're probably at 8% today. So on the long-term average, that's barely at or below long-term average. Banks are still on a net position, not adding commercial debt. What is more difficult to capture, of course, is the role of alternative lenders. But I think that's an opportunity because it actually, you're actually trading a bit of upside, going back to what Charles was actually saying about trading an upside for pretty rich and stable income as a lender in that space. And then finally, you have the pricing imbalance, and that's where we're seeing more imbalances across the globe. But that's, as Charles said, this is about absolute pricing. If you look at real estate pricing relative to its own history, it looks expensive. Real estate pricing relative to other asset classes, and for the distortions we mentioned, it actually looks pretty attractively priced, actually pretty cheap if you look at the spreads I was showing. So I think, to sum up, it really depends on what kind of investor you are. If you're a relative investor and you're benchmark driven, then you probably don't need to worry too much about hedging and that risk. But if you're an absolute and you really need that income or that return, then you probably need to make sure you assure yourself by taking those positions or maybe getting out of the market at some point.